All right, so we are going to be talking about hospitality tonight and really talking about opening ourselves to some new understandings and approaches to hospitality. So as we begin, some of you who were on early, I asked you to bring some paper and a writing utensil with you. So if you need to kind of step away and grab that real quick, I do recommend it because we're going to be going through some questions and jotting down some notes and then having some discussion time. So if you have a piece of paper near you, that would be lovely. So many times when we think about hospitality, we can think of it only in terms of giving. So we give welcome, right? We offer coffee hour, we hand out bulletins, and we help to orient people to the space. We greet people. These are all things that we give and we offer. But I wonder if you've ever experienced this. Let's just take a random church, not your church, but a church that says it really wants young families, right? And one Sunday, a young family shows up, but suddenly a bunch of problems start to crop up as well because the toddlers are leaving snack residue on the pews, right? And the children are drawing on every available leaflet in the backs of the pews. Maybe that's just my children. That happens. Suddenly there's noise and the parents, don't seem interested in getting involved in the midweek, 10 a.m. Bible study that's being offered. And the church starts to wonder, should we start some children's classes maybe during the sermon so that the noise can be less? But nobody really wants to miss out on the service. So they wonder maybe we should ask the parents to lead the children's time during the sermon. Now, what sort of things do you notice right off about this scenario? What kinds of things do you notice about the welcome? I mean, there is clearly a welcome there. There's like a giving, but the issue is that it's an invitation to assimilation. It's an invitation to come in, but, we don't really actually want to change it all. So if you could come in and, be quiet and kind of like follow the way that we are, then you are absolutely welcome. So we discover fairly quickly that true hospitality, that effective hospitality, maybe we should say, is more than just offering something. It is also an openness to being changed and transformed, to become a new iteration. Well, recognizing that welcome and inclusion means that them becoming part of the bigger group, like you will not be the same. So listen to this quote from Stephanie Spellers. She writes in her book, Radical Welcome. Radical welcome is the spiritual practice of embracing and being changed by the gifts, presence, voices, and power of what she terms the other. And then she says what the other is: the people systemically cast out of or marginalized within a church, a denomination, and or a society. So you can hear both that giving and receiving, that hospitality is both giving to others, but then also recognizing that we are receiving gifts back from them, and we are all being changed in light of this new interaction. So we are going to engage in activities this evening around hospitality to imaginatively consider our own understandings of hospitality and how we might open ourselves to some new approaches. And some questions to kind of help lead us into this time are, how does it change our understanding of hospitality to think of it as both giving and receiving? What shifts with a stance of willingness to receive and to be changed in the experience of hospitality? So we're going to have an exercise tonight, and we're going to work through a series of 5 questions. And so you'll have some time to kind of jot down some notes for each of the 5 questions. And after that point, we'll offer some breakout groups. and some time to discuss whatever you feel comfortable with. There won't be a guided question or prompt necessarily, just whatever you feel comfortable sharing about the exercise. All right, so here's the first question that we're going to engage together. What do you think of when you hear the word hospitality? What comes to mind? So just take a couple minutes and jot down some ideas of what first springs to mind when you hear this word, hospitality. And then if you feel comfortable, you can go ahead and put a few things in the chat of some of the things that are coming to mind for you. These are great. So we have welcoming, hosting guests in my home, welcoming into my or our space, food, learning and knowing names, welcoming, engaging, caring, welcoming the stranger as if they were Christ, being made comfortable just as I am, affirming and engaging, good food and good conversation, meeting needs such as daily bread, sharing conversation, sharing of food, meeting people where they are at, welcome food, lodging, affirming, gracious, welcoming, attentiveness. These are great. I love that none of you put coffee hour. I'm a little surprised. I thought we'd have a few coffee hours sprinkled in there, but I like this. I like that you all are thinking on this kind of broad plane, and these are really, really beautiful words. I love these. All right, let's step into the next question together. So what do you, and this is kind of you in the context of your congregation, do really, really well in terms of hospitality? What do you do really well in terms of hospitality? Take a few minutes to jot down some notes, and then we'll put a few things in the chat again. All right, and if you're ready, you can put a few things in the chat that you'd like to share. All right, here are some things that you all are identifying that your congregation does really well in terms of hospitality. We have greet people immediately, introducing visitors to others. That's great, Mary and Charlie. Love people, not afraid of disruptions. Yes. Listening, openness, not overpowering. Invite to coffee hour. Welcome all visitors, food for all, sharing our resources. Welcome the new vicar and his spouse. Yay, we're so glad you're here, Ethan. I can't wait to meet you in person. Also, engage with all people who are present. Welcome everyone as they come through the door. Offer assistance if needed. Provide activity bags for little ones. Yes. Invite people to stay after, but don't get offended if they don't. Definitely. Ushers ask if familiar with service. If not, give a handout. Have them sit close to someone else to help if needed. Susan, I really appreciate that comment. I think that that's really important, especially with us in the Episcopal tradition, which some of our liturgy and the way that we worship together can be a little unfamiliar to folks. So thank you for making that a big priority at St. Luke's. All right, it's fun to celebrate what we do really well together. All right, so now we're going to move into a little bit of an imaginative twist to our questions. So now, using your imagination, think of someone who is very different from you. So some ideas might be a difference in sexuality or race or language, physical impairment or age. So try to imagine life from that perspective as clearly as possible. And I really want to make a clear caveat right here that we are not going to assume that we can understand fully or even mostly the perspective of others simply by imagining it. It is holy work to listen to one another and to listen to other perspectives. So we're not doing this as though we're going to understand other perspectives, but imagination can be a wonderful aid in kind of prying open our eyes and hearts to how we might better offer welcome and how we might be open to being changed in the process. So we are going to engage our imaginations tonight. So I want you to imagine someone different from yourself and try to imagine life from that perspective here for a few minutes. Okay, and now holding yourself, kind of imagining yourself as this person, we're going to engage the next two questions. So still in your imagination, still in that perspective, what gifts might you bring that the congregation needs? So thinking about your congregation as being the congregation, kind of distancing yourself from it, you're this person that you just imagined. What gifts would you bring that the congregation needs? So let's take a few minutes with this question. All right. Hopefully you've come up with some gifts that you could bring to the congregation. So let's move on to our final question. So still in your imagination, still in that perspective, what could the congregation do to offer effective hospitality to you? So what would your congregation that we're kind of distancing ourselves from in this imaginative practice do to offer effective hospitality to you as the person you're imagining? All right. I'm so excited to chat together, and we're actually going to start with some breakout rooms that Bishop Gretchen is going to put us in. So groups of about 3 to 4, and just discuss whatever you feel comfortable discussing, whatever came up for you, maybe some ahas, maybe some kind of things that you were surprised by. I honestly, I wrote these questions, but I didn't do the exercise myself. And I was shocked by this exercise. I feel like I learned so much from walking through these questions. So I'm really excited to chat with you all. So we'll have some time in our breakout rooms, and then we'll come back together and have some space to discuss as a whole group as well.
Andrea, how long would you like?
Why don't we do, how about 12-ish minutes, Bishop? Does that sound good? Okay. And we can stop the recording.